Hello there, and welcome back to another video. I am the Archangel, and today I'm just going to be sharing my thoughts on the previous Icarus Beta Weekend that we just had. I was thinking about it, and I thought the best way that I could go about describing it was through a pros and cons list. So sit back, relax, and without further ado, let's do further. Pro number 1. I think the game is absolutely beautiful. Down from the water, the way the water works, the landscape, the way the storms interact, just the way the wind blows and you can just see the sticks and leaves all flying in the wind during storms. It's absolutely beautiful. The way they have the animals laid out, the whole scenery, the way they've laid out the landscape with the trees. And I think just from seeing the forest, I'm excited to see all the other biomes that they have got waiting in store for us. Pro number 2, I think is one of got the best mining or log simulations out there. I think in all the previous games that I have played, including Satisfactory through Valheim, all of those, when you're mining in this game and it starts breaking off and chipping in pieces in the exact same way with the log, it just has a very nice visual presence that you can see. And I think also it's got a very nice sound to it, like you're actually breaking something, and it's got a very pleasant, satisfying sound when you break into it. And I think that's something that's been really well done. The third pro, it's got a very in-depth and an absolutely amazing tech and talent skill trees. So for those of you who have been watching and have been seeing some playthrough or haven't yet, the tech tree is amazing for a number of different reasons. It allows for different playing styles. You can go in, pick and choose which one you want to follow. If you play in a certain way, this allows you to focus purely on the playstyle that you have, and then you can be rewarded based on how far into that skill tree you want to go. Now, as a solo player, you're probably thinking, how's that going to work for me? They've designed an actual separate solo skill tree just for solo players, which gives them a huge amount of boosts within the game. But also, if you're playing co-op, the amazing thing is then you can split skill trees between different players and you can each focus on different aspects of the game and work together to try and find the best balance that you possibly can. So it's both rewarding, super in-depth, and there's numerous different trees that you can follow. And I think this just bodes well for the entire development of the game, and that it will appeal to a numerous player base that have got different styles of gameplay, have different needs, and also want to have different challenges set out for themselves in the future. Then the fourth pro, being able to craft weapons and buildings without the need for a workbench. And I find that this is probably one of the biggest bonuses that I found throughout the whole beta weekend, is being able to, when you're out in the forest, randomly craft another knife that you need or another bow without having to have something there for you to craft it. Same with buildings. Say you're going out on an adventure, you want to go discover the place, find where there's a new water source or find a whole bunch of new resources, and then out of nowhere a storm will hit, but there's no shelter. So instead of having a workbench or some other thing that you need to be able to build buildings, in this game you can build it straight from the crafting with inside your inventory, and you can build it right there and right then without having to worry about having something nearby or within a specific radius of yourself. And I think that is really great, especially if you're going to include such massive biomes and not limiting the space where you're going to be working in, especially for buildings and construction. It's absolutely amazing. Then the final pro. I think that within the beta weekend, it's got a really solid platform or foundation for the developers to work from. So what I mean by that is that they've got all of the basic structures in place, the basic layout in place, and they've got a very good solid idea, and that this game has got some absolutely massive potential if it can be done right. Now I say if lightly, and we get to that part now of the video when we talk about the things that weren't really that great throughout the whole beta weekend. So I named these cons, but these are more things that need to be worked on and be refined for the game to actually try and reach that potential that I spoke about. The first one is that the optimization of the game urgently requires some work. I'm using currently a mid-range gaming PC, and at times it was struggling heavily to try and match up to the requirements that the game was trying to put out. And now this is only a beta, this is only a very small little section they provided for us. And playing on low graphics at points and still struggling to get 60 frames with a mid-range gaming PC, this just puts me in a position where I fear for those average gamers with just average level or lower end gaming computers, that they might not be able to experience the game to its absolute fullest. So they need to find a way to optimize it where it becomes where you're able to have the quality of the game still there, but you can still function and perform in the right way as well. The second con, there are lots of bugs and glitches that need to be sorted out. I'm not too sure about this whole entire solo playthrough. In solo it appears that it's not as bad, it's still playable, but the multiplayer has got a lot of things that need to be touched up on and tried to be fixed. I'm just going to run through a few basic simple bugs and glitches that I experienced when I was doing my playthrough with a friend of mine. Some of the main ones is dropping items. If somebody needs to craft an item, you don't have a storage box nearby, you drop something for them so they can craft a weapon or a building or something. Those items somehow just randomly fall through the abyss, straight through the center of the earth, and you can't even pick them up yourself again. And that's basically a resource entirely lost. Another bug or glitch that there is comes to mining. You're mining a resource. You as the host might see the resource, but the other player, he might see it, but it's not actually there in the host server. So he's thinking he's mining something, but he actually isn't mining anything. He's mining thin air, and he's wondering why he's not getting any resources out of it. The other glitches that we found is just random logs twitching, twerking, bouncing around throughout the earth. You go into hunting, throwing knives, shooting arrows, which has got a cool cutscene by the way, very Skyrim-like when you shoot an arrow and it basically follows the arrowhead. Only issue I had with that was that if you were aiming at an animal and somehow there was another one in the distance, it might randomly aim your arrow that way and it goes from having no dip to having complete dip and vice versa. There are a list of other issues, error codes loading in, but I'm hoping that they get some of these sorted out before the next beta weekend. The third con. The building itself, it's very challenging with a few tricky mechanics. The building in this game is unlike any of the other survival games out there. It's very tricky, very finicky, trying and figure out where to position the things. It's almost like sometimes it works on a grid-based system, but then sometimes it doesn't work on the grid-based system. Using completely different keys for rotating the actual object you're trying to place, whether it be a roof, a door, a ceiling. It's very difficult to try and adjust those different pieces, different types of equipment when it comes to building. And I think that they got to try and find an easier way to interact with you being able to use the building materials themselves. Currently it goes, you craft it, it goes into your inventory, then you must deploy it, and then it works off a number that's inside your inventory. There has to be an easier way to use it directly from the crafting menu itself, just to make things a little bit easier. And need to find a way for you to be able to change the hotkeys in the game. So if you wanted to, for example, use the scroll to rotate the object, you can do that, whereas now scroll is changing between items. So you might have the roof angled, but instead of using in the game it's R to rotate the object, you'll want to scroll, but then you'll end up losing the whole building and you have to start from not the whole building, but the whole piece of the building and go back and almost start from the beginning. So it's something that's very different, and I think it's going to take a lot of getting used to. Then the fourth con. This again is a very multiplayer based con, but it's something that we found happened heavily during the beta testing, is that there was severe server lag and a lot of rubber banding when trying to connect to the servers. This is not a very enticing co-op experience that you want to have, seeing an animal rubber banding, so your friend or you as the host can maybe hunt, but your friend can't because he can't really aim at the animals while they're rubber banding, or watching your other friends around you rubber banding or running. It's not necessarily the most pleasant of sights, and it's certainly something that needs to be worked on to just try and give a more refined and cleaner aspect or cleaner view to the entire game itself. Then finally, the final con that I have. It's not necessarily a con, it's more of an observation, but I definitely expected the game to be a lot more refined during this beta than what it was. I expected the game to be more refined purely for the fact that it's only 2 to 3 months away from being completely launched. No early access, a full entire launch. And we only got a very small view, a very small aspect within this beta. And it's still struggling to meet some very, very, very basic requirements. And I think that was one of the biggest eye-openers, was how far away they are from reaching that potential within such a short space of time. So basically, these are my thoughts. I think the things we need to understand as well is that this is only the first beta weekend. This is only the first little sneak preview that we're getting in. The big hope that I have is that throughout the next couple of weeks, they can work on things, start tweaking the system, so when the next beta weekend comes out, it'll be a lot better than this previous one. I hope you all enjoyed watching the video. If you do have any suggestions, please let me know. Also, let me know down in the comment section below what your experience was like over the beta weekend. I know that there were lots of different experiences from different players, but I'd like to hear what yours was. If you found the game to be great, maybe you didn't have the same issues that we had. So it's always great to get the opinions and the experiences of other players, especially when it comes to the beta weekends. Also, if you'd like to catch some of the gameplay that I did over the weekend, you can head over to my Twitch channel. I have put the link to the description down below, and you can just head over there and have a look and see. As always, a like, a subscribe, or a follow on Twitch will be greatly appreciated if you would like to see some more of this. Otherwise, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.